I'm going to start things off today with a brief story. When I was a kid, I came home from school one day. People had been picking on me. I believe it had to do with something to the fact that I was a kid with an afro in a mostly white neighborhood, and that was something that was relatively foreign to them. And I came home and I was pretty upset about it. Mom looked at me and she said, "Micah, I want you to understand something. There are people in the world who are better than you at some things, but there is no one in the world who is better than you." This was a fantastic life message to give that I took entirely the wrong way. I took that to, of course, mean that I was better than everyone else. I stood up here a little over a year ago starting out my homily saying that I am an egotistical, self-aggrandizing jerk. And that was part of my charm. So I was surprised when I was actually invited to come up here and speak to a service about self-esteem and self-care, because you would think someone who goes around telling the world, "I'm awesome," on a regular basis would actually have something to talk about insecurity and or self-care. Here's a little bit of a secret for you, and this applies to more than just me. The larger the ego, the larger the mountain of insecurity and self-doubt that supports it. There's a reason why, whenever you deal with an arrogant, egotistical, self-aggrandizing jerk and you actually manage to say something to get between his chinks of armor, that person takes it very personally and will probably never forgive you for it. And that's because you got through their armor to something that they're very sensitive about. Something that they're trying to hide. Something they're trying to keep you from knowing. When we were talking at Sunday services about our service map for the rest of the summer, I thought it was interesting that the two people who leapt onto the self-esteem service were both victims of domestic violence. But that's the thing about domestic violence. The first thing they do in an abusive situation is to take away your pride and take away your spine and take away your self-worth. I am an egotistical, self-aggrandizing, arrogant jerk. But a young lady was able to cut through all of that and take away everything that was me, beat me, and convinced me that I was subhuman. When I called my dad 2 or 3 years ago now at this point, to say, "I am in an abusive relationship and I need help," I told my dad the things that I went through, and he said, "I don't even know who you are. The Micah I know would never put up with this." Because I don't take crap from anybody. But again, that ego that I've built, telling everyone how awesome I am, because let's face it, I am. That's all to hide the fact that I'm deeply insecure about a number of things. I have incredibly crooked teeth that my parents paid a whole lot of money to not look this way. I used to be able to run the 400 meter in 50 seconds flat. And now if I try to run 400 meters, I think I might fall down and die. The ratio of hair on my head to my body fat used to be completely reversed. These are all things that I am conscious of. And amazing as it was, my brother is also a very strong-willed, very confident individual, and yet both of us had anorexia because we had poor self-image. When we asked Cassidy to speak earlier this week, she said, "I don't know if I can say anything that would relate to the adults in the room because they're far enough along in their lives that they don't have any insecurities anymore." And that was exactly my reaction. I told her that when I was 16, I knew that by the time I was 21, I would have my life together and know what I was doing with it. I told her that by the time I was 23, I knew that by the time I was 30, I would have my life together and know what I was doing with it. And by the time I was 35, I knew that I would have my life together by 40 and know what I was doing with it. And now that I'm coming up on 40, I've come to a realization. No one knows what they're doing with their lives. They just are dealing with it. None of us. We are all lost. We have found what we are comfortable with, and we have found our little places, but still we are figuring it out every day. And yes, that is a place of insecurity. Because I look at my parents and I say, wow, they are together people. They have a house, they managed to have 2 kids and not kill either of them. They had careers that spanned decades. I have not managed to stay at a single job for more than 6 years. And I have not managed to have a marriage. I've been married twice, and that has collectively been 4 years. So I knew that one day I would be where they were, and every day that I wasn't, I felt lost and confused and like a loser. But you know what? I'm not them. I found my own path. The weird thing is when I see kids, the youth, and I see other people, and they talk to me like I have my stuff together, and who are you talking about? That's the thing, though, is that we put together these walls. We put together this image that says, yep, I got this. We're good. And meanwhile, we have no idea what's going on. But there's 2 ways you can attack that. You can be, and I use the word attack to a nonviolent congregation, so I probably shouldn't say that. But these are the words that I've chosen. This is how you attack that. I never let anyone tell me I can't do anything. Except for Matt. I accept that. I never let anyone say, you can't do this. I don't know if that's because I've gotten it. I know that's not because I have an image of my own self-worth. It's because I'm constantly questioning what am I capable of. When I told my parents in 9th grade that I was dropping band and going into take an art class, since I'd never taken one, they looked at me and said, why? You can't draw. Yeah. 3 years later, I went to Corcoran School of Art for drawing. I wrote my first song when I was 4 or 5 just because I wanted to see how that stuff went together. I didn't know what I was doing was anything special or wrong or right or whatever. I just did it to see if I could. And that's how you attack it. You don't let anybody tell you you can't do something. And that's the most frustrating thing when I see the young women in our lives who are constantly being told they can't do something. That we tell them, you're doing something like a girl, and that's an insult. I know this is meandering, but my brain is all over the place with this idea. So, a couple of weeks ago, I was really upset when I was speaking to a young lady at Home Depot, and we were talking about fixing the water fountain I bought at the church auction, which, by the way, is the second water fountain I bought from the church auction that didn't work. We were going into, I said, that's why I sometimes buy home electronics that don't work, because I know I can fix them, or I'll buy a piece of furniture that needs refinishing. And she goes, well, I'm a girl, I can't do those things. And I stopped cold. This young lady was 20 years old, working at a Home Depot with a pair of her own work gloves. She was hauling, moving things around, but she was a girl and she couldn't work on electronic stuff. I turned to her and said, I know female rocket scientists. I know female computer scientists. I know women who can code their way around me blindfolded. You being a girl has nothing to do with you not wanting to be able to work in electronics. That's fine. Take the statement that you're a girl and you can't do it out, please. My dad grew up in a period of time where he was black. There were lots of things he couldn't do. My mom tells me every day about how the men in her office, she was an IT manager in the 70s. A female IT manager in the 70s. Let me tell you, there aren't a whole lot of female IT managers now. Every day you get up and you're told by hundreds of people in lots of little ways that you can't do something, and that has an effect on how you feel about yourself. See, I'm just coming back to the point. Yeah, I go around and I tell everybody I'm awesome. And I genuinely, at this point in my life, believe it to be true, because 2 years ago I stood up here and told you how much I hated myself. A lot of therapy, a lot of work. I don't hate myself anymore. As a matter of fact, I'm pretty awesome. I'm also not a spiritual person, and the slightest, so I think it's really interesting that you keep inviting me up here to talk. But I looked up today the non-religious description and definition of the word miracle. And I typed it out because I want you guys to all think of something, and I want you to all think about this very carefully. A miracle is a highly improbable or extraordinary event, development, or accomplishment that brings a very welcome consequence. Every single person in here, statistically speaking, is a miracle. We are all highly improbable. The chances of things coming together for our existence was astronomically big and random and impossible. On no less than 3 occasions, I almost died, and yet I'm here today. I know I'm a miracle. I know Dad's a miracle. He survived the mumps when he was younger. Every single person in here is a miracle. You bring something special, something welcome, and you are all improbable. I grew up 2,000 miles from here. The chances of me meeting you or having a chance for you to impact my life was very small. A very specific set of circumstances had to occur for me to end up here and be able to learn from each and every one of you. My method of self-care is I never forget that. And in some strange way, I'm grateful to the horrible, horrible person who stabbed me with a kitchen knife and made me come here. Because my life is better for having you in it. My life is better for having me be here. And your sound system works better with me being here. We spend too much of our time, too much of our lives focusing on all the things that have gone wrong and all the things that didn't go as planned. And one of the great lines that I've ever heard, and I believe it was John Lennon that said this, was, life is what happens when you're busy making other plans. That's because nobody's life goes as planned. So, the last time we were up here together, we asked you to walk up here, walk outside, take a moment, and take your time, your day, and live your life. That was what we asked you to do for Memorial Day. Today, I'm going to ask you to tell somebody here after the service, not now, The one thing you're really good at, that you are amazing at. Tammy's awesome with bikes. She can read sheet music. And can I say how happy I am she's back there? My dad can crunch numbers like nobody's business, has a beautiful singing voice. I'm good with technology. Suck at math, but I'm good with technology. Cassie, too many C's in your family, really. Cassie has amazing amounts of wisdom and life experiences to share. Cassidy is a delight.
She plays bass too.
She plays bass too. There is something here there is something you do that you do very well, that you do better than almost anybody else here. And I want you to choose to find somebody and tell somebody that. It's not self-aggrandizement. You're just saying, I'm good and I'm good at this one thing. That's how you start. You start with something small. So, I'm going to wrap this up by saying, once again, I'm awesome. And you're awesome. Because all of you inspire awe in me. Thank you very much for coming. And next we're going to go to There's a River Flowing in My Soul, which is 1007 in the Teal Hymnal.